Hey there, welcome to Right Now. So, in this live series, we're going to cover all topics related to creating content, writing books, doing anything where that will give you the opportunity to share your story, share your expertise out in the world. So, if you haven't tuned in before, this is a very interesting series that decided to start last year, that helps people to really kind of think about the different topics. So if you're wanting to write a book and you're running into blocks, or you're running into not really knowing what the process is to get your content created or get your book published, it's really meant to help you. It's also meant to help people who maybe aren't ready to write a book, but maybe want to start a blog, or maybe want to share more information on social media, or are just looking for different ways to make themselves more visible out in the world. We know that in today's world, being more visible is helpful, whether you're looking for a job or building a business or trying to scale your business or get more clients. It really helps for people who to know who you are, and one of the best ways to do that is to create really compelling content, and that's what the goal of this is to help you figure out how to create that content. So today, what we're going to talk about is publishing. So I talk to a lot of people who are ready to write their book, or they have gotten really far down the process of writing their book, and now they're ready to start thinking about publishing. And there's just a lot of questions that they have about that whole process. So I am going to talk a little bit about some of the different options that you have for publishing today, and hopefully answer some of the questions that you might have. You can also ask me questions, so you can drop questions in the chat, or you notice that I have a website there at the bottom of the screen, execuright.com/ask the author. That is a place that you can go if you have questions about writing, publishing, books, anything. Like, you can go and drop in questions, and I will answer them directly to you. But then I might use those questions for future episodes. So we're going to be doing this once a week, and covering all different topics. So if you have a topic you'd like me to cover, or a question that you want to get answered, please go to that site and drop it in, and we will do our best to answer your questions. So let's get started talking about publishing. So publishing is it's different now than it was many years ago. So many years ago, if you wanted to become a published author, you had to go through the process of finding a publisher. You had to submit a proposal to the publisher, or somehow build a relationship with a publisher. Maybe you had to find a literary agent, and really convince the publisher to take you on. And then the publisher would maybe provide you with an editor to help you edit the book, and then they would do all of the steps to publish and distribute the book. And then they might do things like some PR for you, and some things like that to help get the book out into the world. That is still a process that you can go through. But there are other options now that authors have for getting their books published that I think are very interesting and helpful. And so I want to explore those with you. So, and also along the way, we'll kind of be talking about some of the advantages and disadvantages of each. So first, traditional publishing. So traditional publishing is just what I was just talking about. So you find a publisher, and there are different types of publishers. There's the large publishers like the Random House, the Penguins, those types of publishers. And then there's smaller publishing houses. And so So you can go, or there's also very niche publishing houses. So a niche publishing house may be one that focuses on a very specific topic. So for instance, there are Christian publishing houses. So if you have a book that is sort of based in a Christian topic, you can find a you might be able to find a Christian publishing house that can help you get published. Um, there are some business publishing houses. There are publishing houses that focus on things like textbooks. There may be some related to industries. So there may be some, for the tech industry or for the real estate industry. So it's worth maybe doing a little bit of research, and really kind of finding the of um, right type of publisher for you. There's also agents. So in some cases, particularly with the larger publishing houses, you really you might first need to find an agent. So agents, what an agent does is you have an agreement with an agent, and then the agent has the relationships with the publishers, and they help you get into the publisher. So I think one of the disadvantages of traditional publishing is the timeline. It can be up to several years to get yourself into a a large publisher. Smaller publishers may not take quite as long, but I have known people that it has taken a couple of years to maybe 3 or 4 years. And then the process, you have to write a book proposal, submit the book proposal. You have to and many times you have to submit it to multiple agents or multiple publishers before you find one that accepts your proposal. So it can be time consuming. It's not impossible. It's absolutely possible. People do it. There are many, many books that are published every year by traditional publishing. And so it's just the process that you have to go through to get there. If you're determined and you're willing to kind of go through that process, you can absolutely be successful doing it. One of the advantages of having a publisher is in some cases they may pay out an advance. An advance is just what it sounds like. It is an advance on book sales. So they may give you a certain amount of money to complete the book, because typically when you submit the proposal, the book may not be complete. So what you're doing is you're submitting what you what you think the book will be. So they'll give you a certain amount of money to complete the book and then allow them to publish it and market it. And then the book sales, after they publish it, the book sales then come from that advance. And then you don't make additional income until the advance is kind of taken care of. Um, so typically the royalties for publishers are a little bit lower than if you go a self-publishing route. And it's mainly because of all the work that the publisher does, the marketing and the PR and the publishing and the distribution and getting the books out into the bookstores. So there's a little bit of a trade-off, if you will. So there are advantages of going the traditional publishing route. There's not as much of your upfront cost that you have to put out in the beginning, and they actually take care of the marketing and everything for you, or they take care of a lot of the marketing. Now, don't get me wrong, you still have to do marketing yourself, or you really do need to do that. If you really want your book to be successful, it's a team effort. So the publisher is going to do a certain amount of it, but you'll need to do that yourself. And you may have book signing events that you'll need to show for, and making sure that it's out on social media, and making sure that you're talking to your community, and making sure that everyone that could know about the book does know about the book. So there's a lot of responsibility that you'll have as well. It's not just up to the publisher to do that. So the other option, if you don't want to go the publisher route, or you feel like that process is a little daunting, or you don't want to wait, 2 years to get your book published, you can self-publish. So there's some really great options right now for self-publishing. I prefer to use the Amazon self-publishing platform. I prefer to go directly to the platforms themselves. So the Amazon has a self-publishing platform. Barnes and Noble has a self-publishing platform. There's a company called Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark, once you publish through them, it helps to get your books into independent bookstores and libraries, I believe. So if you want to physically publish books into independent bookstores, that's the route to go. Apple Books also has a self-publishing platform. So I prefer to go directly to the platforms. There are actually services, though, that you can find that where you submit the book into one platform and it distributes it out to the different. So I find the control aspect of actually being able to control it myself through Amazon and through Barnes and Noble. I prefer that myself. However, you can actually pay for these services that will push it out to the different distribution channels. And so there's several. I don't necessarily recommend any because I've had some mixed reviews on some of the services. So there are not any that I particularly recommend, but if you wanted to go out and search for some of those services, there are services out there that do that. Um, so the advantages to me for self-publishing is the timing. So you can decrease the amount of time it takes to actually get your book to market significantly if you self-publish. Of course, you have to do the writing, and you have to do the editing, and you have to do all the work to get the book done, but you don't have to go through the process, the sometimes lengthy process of actually getting it in front of a publisher and getting them to accept the book. So once your book is ready, you can push it through the process and get your book published. Another advantage of self-publishing is the royalties tend to be a little bit higher from self-publishing than through traditional publishing. Um, and that's because of you're doing all the work yourself. So of course, you're going to make a little bit more in royalty from those books. I recommend to people to consider, because with self-publishing, you are doing the work yourself. So you're going to be doing all the marketing yourself. You're going to be doing all of the distribution. Well, the platforms will distribute it. So it puts it out on the Amazon platform, puts it out on Amazon, puts it out on Barnes and Noble if you go the Barnes and Noble route. Um, so the book gets distributed, but all of the marketing, all of the PR, all of the launch activities, the communications out to your network, you will have to do yourself when you do the self-publishing. I like that because I like having a little bit more control over that aspect. But if you want help with that, I recommend that you maybe look into a PR person or a publicist. And there are PR and publicists who specialize with working with authors. So it might be worth kind of looking into finding someone with that level of expertise to help you. Now, um, the disadvantage of self-publishing is just like I was saying, you're going to be doing pretty much everything yourself. Um, Now, there are people that you can hire to help you. You can hire book coaches. A book coach will kind of help you through the entire process, help you to kind of understand the process of writing the book, creating your content, the organization of the book, making sure that it meets the needs of your audience. So that's what a book coach is going to do. There are editors. Editor will help you through the editing process and make sure the book flows and the content is really good, and the language that you use matches your audience, that your tone and your voice is consistent throughout the book, that you've addressed typos and grammar and the formatting of the book. So those are the types of things editors can help you with. And then there are people out there that actually help you with the publishing piece. And so that may be someone that you may want to look at bringing in to your team and helping with that. Um, it's not. Now, don't get me wrong, you can absolutely publish, write, and publish a book yourself at no cost. If you do everything yourself, you can absolutely do that. If you do want help, then there are those different resources that I would recommend maybe bringing in, the coaches, the editors, maybe a designer to help with your cover design and maybe your book design, a graphic artist, perhaps. So you might want to think about some of those resources to help with the process. And if you find resources that are familiar with the book writing process, then they will have advice for you and will be able to help you through the process. The third option is what they call a hybrid publisher. So hybrid publishers are not the big publishing houses, the Random House, they're more smaller publishing houses, but they do for a fee. So basically you enter into a contract with a hybrid publisher, and there are many of them out there. So you enter into a contract with them. They may help you, depending on, some of them have different levels of support. So they may help you with the editing process of the book, help you get the book formatted, get everything designed, the cover design and everything, and they will then push it out through the publishing process. Some people call them publishing partners. They call them hybrid publishers. And so, but they help with the editing, the publishing, and the distribution of the book. They may or may not help with the marketing of the book. Many of them have a couple of different layers of packages that they'll have available. So you can choose how much support you want for your book. And this is a great option for people who aren't comfortable with doing the process themselves. And they're willing to invest in the process. So these companies kind of hold your hand through the process and give you advice on your content and give you advice on the editing piece and then help you get through the publishing piece. Um, so the advantage of using a hybrid publisher is that you really have someone to kind of help you hand in hand through that process to really help you get the book published. It can it can help to decrease the amount of time it takes to get your book published because you've got someone who's very familiar with the process who can help you to kind of work through that process. There is an upfront cost. So and it can range. There's a lot of different options with hybrid publishers depending on what level of support you want. So it can be anywhere from a few $1,000s to several $1,000s to publish your book. So one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give to people who want to get their book out there is to really think about what your goals are. Are you wanting to write a book that's going to sell like a ton of copies? Are you wanting a book that you want to use to maybe help to market your business? Are you looking to get onto more speaking stages? Are you just want to share your story, and you just want to put your story out there? So really kind of think about your goals. And once you understand your goals, that can help you to kind of understand what direction you want to go from a publishing perspective. If your goal is to sell thousands or hundreds of thousands of copies of your book, then it might be worth going through the process of finding a traditional publisher, because that's what they're really going to be focused on, because they make more money when you make more money. If you're really looking for a tool that can help just kind of promote you and raise your visibility, maybe something that you have as a giveaway for your clients, or maybe something you have as a giveaway when you go to speaking events, that may be more conducive for like a self-publishing, so you can get it out more quickly and you have more control of it. Now, one of the things I do caution people, like, if they do enter into traditional publishing agreements, really, really, really read the agreements. Make sure you have a full understanding of what services they will provide, how they will provide the services. And this applies to the hybrid publishers as well. How they provide the services, what happens from a copyright perspective, and this is very important. So if you self-publish your book, you maintain the copyright. The copyright is yours. You own it. You own the content. At any time, you can change it. You may not have that kind of flexibility if you go through the traditional or the hybrid publishing option. You just want to make sure that you understand the agreement and you know everything that they're providing and all kind of the rules that are going to go along with that. So hope this has answered a lot of your questions about publishing. If you have additional questions, please DM me. Please, drop a line to the website that I mentioned earlier, our Ask the Author page. I have a tool that you are welcome to download. So if you look at the QR code up in the top corner, that is the book strategy tool. And you can, if you go to that QR code, you can download it and it will give you some information, it will ask you some questions to help you start thinking about planning your book. And it goes into things like, your audience and what your purpose is for the book. And so I would love for you to go out and download it and use it as much as you can. Share it if you'd like. Also on that page, there is a place where you can book time with me. So if you're interested, if you have more questions, if you want to find out more about the publishing process, the writing process, I am happy to spend some time with you and answer your questions and give you as much information as I can. Please feel free to use the QR code and go out to that page and book some time with me. So I really enjoyed this, and I'm glad you stopped in and listened, and please feel free to reach out if you have more questions. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.